Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Renata Bernarde and this is the Job Hunting Podcast where I give you tips, advice and interview experts to help you nail your next job and have the career you want. We're getting close to the festive season, which for some is not so festive at all. Or it can be, but on the back of your mind you're overworked, you're overwhelmed, stressed, exhausted, and thinking, why is this happening to me again? Every year at this time, things get silly. At work, everyone wants to cross T's and dot I's before they take leave. It gets worse. Many are about to lose their jobs, folks, or they have already. I'm watching a documentary called Imagineering on the new Disney TV, and it follows the development of the Disney theme parks over decades, and of course the amazing creative professionals behind those theme parks. And I've noticed that even at Disney, when times got rough over the years, the employees have lost their jobs just before Christmas, which I think is really sad. And either by my own doing or due to external circumstances, I've had many a stressful end of years since forever it seems. And I've compiled a list of those terrible, stressful end of years to share with you. So many years ago, I packed my bags over Christmas and I left my home country and moved to Australia with 2 young children. And I arrived here mid-January. I also became a CEO just before Christmas. And it may sound really exciting, but it was actually quite stressful. And it's a very steep learning curve to go from being a head of or a manager to being the CEO of an organization. At the same time, in fact, I was remortgaging and renovating my house, so that added to the stress. I left my role as CEO also just before Christmas, and I felt really lost that year. One Christmas, my boss suffered an accident. I remember I got the call, I believe it was the night before Christmas, that he called me to let me know, and that, made me really anxious and worried for him and for the job that we were doing. The next few months after that were really stressful. I had to take up a lot of responsibilities, and he was quite ill. It wasn't as stressful for me as it was for him, of course, but it was still a very anxious time. I once changed jobs over Christmas and started working for a new organization on the 4th of January. I will never forget because the 5th is my birthday. And it was also a very anxious time. And there was this one year, it was right after September 11 happened, which was really sad and unfortunate. Many people were very anxious and stressed that year. But for us, what happened was my husband went for 5 months without being paid after September 11. You see, he was a contractor working for an airline, and things were really complicated back then. He eventually kept working for them, and it was fine, but it made our first Christmas in Australia very stressful indeed. So you see, I developed a tough skin over the years, and I've developed also coping mechanisms. And as someone who always sees a silver lining in everything, that's me, I used the crisis to learn, grow, plan ahead, reevaluate, and I really do a lot of that over December and January. I find it is the right time for me and for many people as well. Yes, there is the New Year's resolution situation, but more than that, our social clock is scheduled to set and end and begin at this time between December and January. It just makes sense to me to use it to serve me instead of letting it control me. So the planning for 2020 begins. And it's not just a new year, folks. It's a new decade, isn't it? So what have I learned over the years that you can do now to set your career on track for this new decade to come? Well, I've put 5 actions, or you can call them mindset shifts or strategies, into a webinar format, and I'll be presenting it live. Wish me luck with the technology, my friends. I have all my fingers crossed. I will be live at 11 a.m. every day from Friday the 20th of December until Tuesday the 24th of December. That's Australian Eastern Standard Time at 11 a.m. I've called this webinar Reset Your Career, the 5 actions you can take now for better results in 2020. And I'd love if you could join me live. It's exciting for sure, isn't it? I've never done anything like this before. And my CRM tells me I already have a number of registrations, so this should be interesting. Today I finished polishing the ideas and I feel ready and pumped to share them with you. I will leave a link to the webinar registration in the show notes, of course, so please go check it out and join me live if you can. If you are listening to this podcast after the 11 a.m. on Tuesday the 24th of December, which is my last live webinar, I will make sure that the link goes somewhere where you can be informed, if you choose, of future events. So don't worry, just check the link anyway, because I might be doing something else interesting. But I don't want to leave you hanging today. And in this podcast episode, I will discuss something that I didn't include in my 5 strategies. So let's call this the 6th strategy, okay? Before I go on and tell you all about it, if this is the content for you, don't forget to follow the Job Hunting Podcast. I would love if you did. And if you are in the thick of it and you need extra support and accountability, please subscribe to my newsletter and follow me on Facebook or Instagram, where I post more regularly. I'm happy to ensure that you keep motivated and energized as you pursue your career goals. And you can find all of these links in the episode show notes. Now, I love receiving emails and DMs from you telling me you are enjoying the podcast. It makes me so proud. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for the feedback that you're giving me. I love it. I can see that, people are just downloading the podcast and there are hundreds and hundreds of views. I'm so excited about it. But if you want to leave me a Christmas present or a New Year present, whatever you choose, I would love a 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you have the time, please also leave me a review. These things really do count on the interweb, folks. Let me tell you, it gets the podcasts found by people who really need it. So if there are even other podcasts that you enjoy reading, don't forget to give the podcast a 5-star review. It really helps everybody. Okay, so here it is. Let's do a bit of looking back in 2019. If you can, or if you choose, you may want to close your eyes for this. I'm going to get a little bit interesting now. So close your eyes if you have the inclination and you're not driving, of course. What was the best day of 2019 for you? I'm thinking a weekday, a work day, but let your mind wander. It may want to find some other day, okay? Let the mind decide. And maybe this perfect day was not one entire day, but a patchwork of experiences that happened in different days, and that's fine too. Today, you get to patch those experiences together into a perfect 2019 day for you. You woke up, and since it's a perfect day, you woke up feeling wonderful. For me, it was the 19th of January, but I had a bit of more time to think about this, so maybe you want to stop the audio a bit and find your perfect morning. I'll be here and I will wait for you. What did you do after you woke up? What activities did you do? And what about lunch? I had some very special lunches this year, so I will patch up a March lunch that was really awesome at the office. And the perfect afternoon at work? What did you do? Who was with you? What made it so special? How did your day end? Did you go home or did you go out somewhere? Did you exercise that day on your special day? I've patched up mine as an early morning walk of about 6 kilometers, listening to a very long podcast interview where I stopped halfway through for a coffee on the beach nearby, close to my home. On that perfect day, I slept early, around 10:30. And before I went to bed, I was reading my book, my favorite book of 2019. It's called Less, which is a lovely, happy book despite the title. It was the best book of the year for me. How about your end of day? Was it lively or was it quiet like mine? Now that's a gorgeous day. Do you want to have more of that? And how can you and I ensure many more great days to come in 2020? Will that be your New Year's resolution? It sure will be mine, to have more of those great days. Now, we all know it won't be great every single time, but we also know that there are things that we can do to maximize the chances of it being great many times over. Can your current work situation support you in having many great days? Or do you need to make any adjustments at work or at home to find those opportunities to make great days over and over again? All right, so join me for the webinar, Reset Your Career, and let's see what else we can do to make 2020 your best year yet. The link to the webinar registration is on the show notes and on my website, etc., everywhere. You know me, I'm everywhere. And I'll see you on Friday. Bye for now.